Welcome to Ed's Not Dead. I'm Robbie Dodd. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Casey Siddons.
Hey,
welcome
Casey. Back after a long winter siesta.
Yes, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And Mr. Peter Crable, of course, Mr. Krabs.
Hello and welcome.
It's good to see you. All right, this is the show, and we are brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. You can find the show on Twitter at Ed's Not Dead PC. And of course, the three of us looking snazzy in our suits on edsnotdead.com.
That's the last time I wore a suit right there.
That is not true.
That's probably true.
You are a school leader now. You look respectable every day, right?
Yeah, sure.
But Mr. Crable's not much for ties.
No, I wear ties. I don't wear suits. I don't like suits.
Doesn't like.
Oh,
suits.
Really?
Not a suit man.
Not a suit man. No.
You're a blazer guy?
No, like a shirt and tie guy or a shirt and slacks
polo.
guy.
He likes nice polos.
I don't really wear polos.
Show off his sweet tats.
No. Don't really do that.
Show off your ink.
I'm trying to figure out what you actually wear. So you wear a dress shirt with a tie. Okay. Yeah, I do know that you are a top button dress shirt unbuttoned guy now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Casey on the
choke your neck out.
Casey on the other hand is not a huge blazer wearer either, but he always buttons.
I started wearing the blazer. I started wearing the blazers. I got a couple of them. Yeah.
All right, and you're respectable. You button the top button, unlike Crable.
I'm a suit guy. I like wearing suits.
I do too, man.
Yeah. I have a blazer from like 12 years ago that is hanging up in the boys' closet that Owen tonight was like, I want to see that coat. And I was like, what? What are you talking about?
That coat.
I brought it down and put it on. And he goes, like, I don't want to lie, but that coat looks pretty good on you.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, oh. And it was so old that it was like kind of like a trash bag, you know, it was very baggy.
Oh, the baggy look.
Yeah, it was not very tailored. And I was like, thanks. Yeah. It looks terrible.
Yeah. Now there was that period there where, and if you were svelte, you could handle it, but the suits and men's dress wear was made for like starving college students.
Yeah,
it was so skinny, and as opposed to when I like started wearing.
You were in the 90s, man.
Oh man, they were
baggier the better.
There are pictures of me with pleated
shoulder pads,
pleated plants,
pleated plants. No, I think it's pleated plants.
Pleated plants.
That's right.
And cuffs. Cuffs were a big deal. Can you do Mr. Siddons? Can you do a Ron Burgundy on the pleats?
Oh no, I'm not doing that. But did you wear? I bet you had a nice pair of penny loafers.
I did. I had some penny loafers, and I went through
90s
and I went through a suspenders phase.
Oh.
That was.
Did you ever do a bow tie phase?
Never done the bow tie.
Neither I don't like how my head looks. It makes my head look like a balloon.
What do suspenders feel like? Are they cool? Or?
Oh no, I like suspenders.
Yeah. In fact, like a tiger.
I would go back to suspenders. But you got to get the. You can't go with like the nipple clip suspenders that have the cheesy metal clip. You have to go with the really nice. Well, you need the sewn in buttons on the inside of your pants. And those are true suspenders, but that's a little pricier.
How much is a nice pair of suspenders?
I have no idea.
Come on.
I don't know. I haven't worn a pair in forever. I don't know.
The ones you bought, how much did they cost?
Probably $75.
$75. Yeah, more than I would have thought.
That was at Josie Banks back in the day.
Yeah,
Joseph.
You bought when they gave you 15,
and they're out of business. That's when you could walk in there and get the 3 suits for like $1.50.
Every career starter.
That's right.
Did that move.
All right. We got a great show for everyone tonight. We are going to focus on a piece in the Washington Post from the 5th of February. Conservative-led school board fires a superintendent. Shocker, fellas. After allegations of private ultimatum and a teacher protest. One guess on what the superintendent espoused that got him canned.
Lower taxes.
Okay, that's wrong. Anyway, we'll get into it in a minute. But first, before we talk about it, Mr. Siddons, you got a quiz for us at the end of the show?
I do, and
Okay.
I have a little. We'll talk about it. I have a little extra segment to ask you guys before the quiz.
All right. Are we doing the parallel quiz structure
No.
still?
Oh yeah. The
Okay,
parallel
we're-
quiz structure is going to be
Okay.
yeah.
That's
But
kind
the
of
other segment is really doesn't require any preparation. It's going to be good. I'm going to get your hot
perfect.
takes on some things.
Crable. You know about this site? Do you know anything about it?
No,
No,
I just remembered.
surprises.
I just remembered that I wanted to talk about it and bring it up.
All right. So let's catch up just for a minute.
All right, let's do it. Hey guys, what about that football game?
There's a big football game
There's
coming
so
up
many.
on Sunday, and this episode will drop if Crable has his act together before the Super Bowl.
Hopefully.
Mr. Siddons,
Yes.
your quiz is who is in the Super Bowl.
No. It's,
Aaron Rodgers.
oh, you're actually asking me.
I'm asking you that. Yes.
All right. It's
Okay.
It's the Chiefs and the Bengals. No. It's the Bengals and the Los and the
Los Angeles.
they're blue and yellow.
Los Angeles.
The Rams.
Okay, you got it. You get credit for that.
That's
Yes,
a lot of pressure.
The Rams against
What I was most excited about was that Aaron Rodgers he lost.
You know what? Don't be an A-Rod hater.
Why? He's an anti-vaxxer.
You're okay. He did a little fib.
No, he lied.
He was using warm stones to.
He lied. He warm stone, holistic care, and
He breathed
acupuncture.
oxygen instead.
That's right. These people have a major megaphone. He has a responsibility to be better, and he wasn't. And
Have you all noticed? Like quarterbacks have the insurance market on TV completely cornered.
Yeah,
I
what's
mean,
up
they
with
do
that?
they do
Jeez.
more insurance commercials between State Farm and I don't know who the other one is. Peyton does insurance also, but all right. So the big game.
On a side note,
Yes.
I went down a little rabbit hole on speaking of like censorship and all that. So I started to look up Spotify.
oh dear,
Do you know how much their owner is worth, their CEO?
it's probably
That's a-
$500 billion.
No, I'll do a legit guess, Mr. Simmons.
And then how old he is.
He's 39,
Okay.
and he's worth $300 billion.
I'm going to say he's 35 and he's worth 10 billion.
38, and I'll double check, but $3 billion.
Oh man, I was way off. Jeez, I knew it
Yeah.
started with a
I
three.
think that's
though.
like the richest person in the world. Is this territory 300 billion? That's not
I mean,
money.
after a million, the numbers don't mean
Oh,
anything
yeah.
to me. I don't know. It's like rice
3,000
kernels.
million. Anyway,
It's like
that was
rice
just
kernels.
interesting kind of sidebar.
So since we have a pod that, by the way, just for our listeners, and thanks to them, our numbers are far superior to Joe Rogan's numbers. Where do you fall on the Joe Rogan, Neil Young misinformation on vaccine?
I didn't
you
know. I didn't know anything. I mean, I don't follow Joe Rogan at all, or the news that he's in or creates or whatever. So I still don't even really know like what exactly he said or was saying.
He had
Yeah,
some
that-
guests on that shared misleading or even worse, just flat out wrong information.
He always has guests on that do that
Yeah.
for years. They knew what they were getting when they signed him on. It's just another way that corporations rule what we hear and see, and that's the world. That's the country we live in. He is the biggest megaphone of all podcasts in the entire world, and all he does is spout misinformation and lies, and people eat it up.
Come, hot take.
Yeah,
It's not a hot take. It's just ridiculous. It's like
I
they have so much money, and really all it comes down to is the fact that he's worth so much money, and it's all about money. And you know what? Neil Young, to his credit, since the 1960s, has been fighting this kind of fight forever. And kudos to him.
Who, by the way, also has espoused some cockamamie ideas in the past.
I'm not doubting that, but I
Okay.
will also say musicians, and Crable should probably know this. Musicians are
poor.
basically screwed by streaming services like Spotify. They get like minuscule amounts of money for people, unlimited amounts of streams of their music.
0.001 cents for every.
There you
stream.
go. There you go. So
I do think there was an article in the Post. It amused me. I love just the clickbait on titles. It was something along the lines of, it was hyperbolic about the artists that were following suit with Neil to abandon Spotify. And it was, I was like kind of excited. Okay, let's see who else is taking a stand. It was like Nils Lofgren and Joni Mitchell. I was like, okay. Most people don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
All right, how much do you think?
The Obamas are pulling their podcasts.
Oh, really?
They've said they're going to be pulling it. The royal family, one of the royal family who has a podcast, I don't know, some of them.
Yeah, and Brene Brown has.
And Brene Brown. So you know what? I it's very frustrating. It's just another example of people who have a ton of money and therefore a ton of power get to spout what our regular people get to hear every day.
Joe Rogan
mostly
Network.
Lies.
Go.
No, I don't care.
Just guess.
$4.
You don't like Joe Rogan, do you?
Well,
it's just like,
you didn't know that he's been very
no, I didn't know. I didn't really know. He likes the other guy that's my age. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Bill Burr, he's great.
Bill Burr, yeah. I kind of get Joe Rogan and Bill Burr confused. I mean, aren't they kind of opposite sides of a coin?
It's funny. Bill Burr talks about Joe Rogan sometimes on his podcast, but Bill Burr is a critical thinker. Like, he talks about vaccines. And he's like, I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. I listen to the science. I listen to doctors.
He likes Van Halen too.
All right, there's a responsible way of doing it. Anyway,
let's get back to the game there. All right, so Casey nailed it. The Rams and the Bengals. Let's do quick picks. Mr. Crable.
I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh, upset pick. Mr. Sid's upset pick.
27-24.
All right.
I have to come up with a score too.
No, you don't have to come up with a score.
I was just feeling myself there.
I never remember the math. I would love to see the Bengals win. When was the last time they were at the Super Bowl? 1988.
Oh, very good.
Is that right?
The Icky Shuffle.
Yeah, the Icky Shuffle.
I'm a big fan of underdogs, and I would love to see the Bengals win. The score will be 13-14. And the Bengals will win.
That's like the Rams Patriots. Like
the Bengals will win because they will block the field goal of the Rams.
Okay. Yeah. That was
you heard it here first.
I mean, that sounded like that was straight from the NFL Network.
The worst Super Bowl in history until the last play of the game.
I have a huge amount of knowledge.
All right, I'm going Crable. I'm going Rams.
Okay.
I'm going better team top to bottom.
Yeah.
Although
probably
I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I like cool.
I'm with Casey. I just something different, something new, an underdog.
I agree. All right. Are you guys are good? Everybody's good?
Healthy, happy.
Healthy, happy.
Yeah, we got to do this so I can go watch the Winter Olympics. I've not really gotten into them yet.
Okay.
And I'd like to get into them a little bit.
They are boring as all get out.
Are you an anti-Winter Olympics person?
Oh, especially yeah. I hate them. They're
downhill
awful.
Skiing doesn't interest you at all?
Snow sports are terrible. As you're about to go downhill skiing, and Mr. Siddons over here is
cross country man
is the lowest form of skiing.
Wow, says the guy who does not exercise at all in any shape of the form.
All right, conservative left school board fires superintendent. All right, fellas. It sounds like Corey Wise got off to a good start in Douglas County, Colorado. He was voted in. We're still trying to kind of figure out what that means last April. But all of a sudden, the school board voted him out 4-3 in a special meeting on Friday. And the reason why the tide turned on him as far as the board was concerned was because they had several conservative board members join the board. And they apparently met with Superintendent Wise behind closed doors, allegedly, and offered him the opportunity to resign or he would be fired. He was fired without cause. The liberal contingent on the board, I think, Mr. Krabs, you're our resident lawyer. You can help us with this. Are very upset. 3 liberal members are upset, and they contend that the conservative members of the board violated Colorado open forum or open meeting laws. Mr. Krabs, you want to explain that in 10 seconds or less?
Yeah. Anytime the board meets with 3 or more members, it has to be an open public meeting. Can't do it in secret.
There you go. So I started the show by asking, what do you think he was fired for? I can't remember what you said, Mr. Siddons. It was something ridiculous.
I said lower taxes.
Oh, you said lower taxes. Okay. Casey.
Yes.
What do you? Yeah, I guess you already read it. Tell our listeners what he was axed for.
Oh my goodness! I don't. You can't put me on the spot like this. I wanted to just talk about the implications of it, not the fact that I didn't read the details.
You're a liar. Critical race theory and mask mandates.
And he came in and was hired in a very positive way, or at least It seemed like pretty positive, because he's been in the district for 26 years, I think, something like that. He was a teacher. He worked there, and it's I guess it turned very quickly once the political shift happened on the board itself, right?
Yeah, and the board president tried to make everybody feel better. Quote, "I recognize this is an emotional time for our community and want you to know I'm committed to restoring peace and unity to our school district with a continued focus on educating our children," which is a complete non-addressing of the issue that people are upset about. So I think it was last week, the community, which should be mentioned, is a very conservative county in Colorado. But people feel strongly enough about this that enough teachers called out sick that they had to close school for the day. It sounds like Superintendent Wise has made a plea for his job right before he was publicly fired. And doesn't sound like the conservative board is going to go back on what they've decided. There was a 1,300 person call recently, and the liberal minority claimed their school board colleagues had violated said Colorado's open meeting laws. So fellas, now we see superintendents biting the dust because they're allegedly espousing critical race theory and I would say fairly accepted health and safety guidelines like mask wearing. What do you make of this? Oh,
I thought Casey was going to go first. That's why I was pointing at him.
Sorry
about that. That was a little anticlimactic. Yeah, I mean, I get it, and I personally disagree. But if a school board is elected, they're within their rights to hire and fire a superintendent who they feel like aligns to their values. So, I mean, I know there's some like brouhaha over the method and like whether they met in secret and all that. And, I don't know. Yeah, that's bad. Okay. But at the heart of it, again, like a hallmark of this country is like local education control. And if they decide that they don't like what he's talking about, true or not true, he could have nothing to do with critical race theory. He could have nothing to do with all that. But if they want to get rid of him, I guess they can get rid of him.
It's crazy. One of the new initiatives, or at least the new push from the MAGA folks, is Trump and his cronies are telling people to run. And what's the other guy? The guy that has
Bannon.
So Steve Bannon has a podcast. It's called. I think it's called The War Room.
Yeah,
and
it's actually a TV show.
He has it might be both actually.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
Anyway, apparently it's a talking point in his podcast and in Trump's speeches, which he's telling all these people, you need to run for these formally innocuous. Maybe innocuous isn't the best word, but formally, not really sought after positions in local government, like county school board positions, election officials, other positions that, no one thinks twice about. And now we're seeing the fruits of that labor, where you have school boards, which were technically are not partisan, or a lot of them around the nation are not partisan, and they are turning partisan if they weren't already. And this is the fruit of that. And Pete is exactly right. I mean, they were voted in, and if you want this stuff to not happen, then you need to pay attention to who is running, and you need to pay attention to who you're voting for, and make sure that you're voting for everybody, or at least voting for people when it's, how do I say it? I guess actually going out and vote. That's what's important.
And like the bummer about all of this, I think, where it really gets lost and is the distillation of anything remotely related to racism and or equity, all being lumped together under the label of critical race theory, and then critical race theory being labeled by some as bad. Like, I do think, and I wish there could be space for like a discussion on, how do we talk about or grapple with, the history and implications of race in our country? Like, I think that's a valid question. Right. What role do schools play? What role do school districts play? Boards of education? Like, how do the adults frame those conversations, and how are those presented to kids? But we're not doing that. We're just saying, we're just like these dramatic actions of firing people, or going after critical race theory is in labeling people at it, or whatever the case may be. It's just stupid. It just sucks that like it just prevents any sort of mature adult conversation about something that is nuanced and difficult to discuss.
And it's not like this stuff is going to go away, right? So like, we're shielding kids, where people are ostensibly shielding kids from the truth of our nation's history and so on. But it's not like that stuff is not available. So like, eventually you're going to come across it in your life that the Holocaust happened. You're going to come across to the fact that Reconstruction, about the truth of Reconstruction and after the Civil War, and what the Civil War was caused by, and things like that. So, we're setting up students and children for a surprise, I guess, later in life, if they actually get to it.
But, that's kind of a huge assumption. I mean, what if you go straight from a school system that doesn't educate kids about these things, and then you go straight to watching Fox News for the rest of your life?
Yeah,
you'll never.
You're in that bubble. You'll never leave.
You'll never know.
Yeah.
I would disagree on a couple things. School boards have been partisan in this country for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I would also.
But explicitly partisan, where they say they're Democrats and Republicans, or
absolutely,
a lot of them say they're nonpartisan, even though they're in underhandedly, maybe they're not.
A lot of it's regional, and depending on where you are, but and I would say too that this is not the first cycle of school boards by either political persuasion or leaning, running explicitly on these kinds of issues and trying to take a stand on things. The second thing that bothers me, to your point, Mr. Krabs, that I think gets to the larger, let's have a discussion about race. It has to happen. And then let's discuss how we teach kids about racism. Is that I get unnerved by the way school systems have backpedaled and said, no, we don't teach critical race theory. Like, school systems are as afraid of it also, or at least afraid of offending their constituencies. So they've almost justified that it's somehow a bad thing.
And that's how they own the narrative,
because the term was defined for them. So
correct,
it got defined as horrible before anybody even knew what we were talking about.
But they've given up that ground completely. I mean, the PR war on this, the critical race theories of that it's race theory of that it's going to make white children and staff feel bad about themselves. They have the high ground. You're right. They've distilled it down to this idea that's so simplified and ridiculous. And I mean, I kind of fault educators a little bit on that. That you got to push back. And I don't
now.
Yeah, I think there's a conversation, like you said, to be had. I mean, why couldn't at a board meeting somebody say, okay, let's actually look at what critical race theory is and have a discussion about it? Sure, it would piss people off, but at least you'd have an open conversation about what it is and isn't. I don't know, the problem with that now is that superintendents like Wise might lose their jobs in the process. And that's a concern for me too, also as a professional educators. You're right, Peter. I mean, they can hire or fire whoever they want. But it's pretty discouraging that a guy like this, who has a great background, has served the system. And it sounds like the community is upset about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, and again, but it goes back to the original point of that Pete brought up, which is they're upset about it. So you need to vote them out.
Yeah. And that was going to be, what I said. It's like, it's actually, in general, it's good, whatever your political or, persuasion, it's good practice to get the people that you like running for local government. And in many ways, the Board of Education is like the epitome of local government.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Direct impact on you and or your kids' lives of, so thereby something that's extremely important to you. And so, yeah, to Casey, your point is like, okay, well, if you didn't like it, well, these 4 people were just voted in. If you don't like how they handle it, vote them out. But it's, it's not going to go away. And then the pendulum's potentially, whether it's in Douglas County or somewhere else, could swing back the other way, where more liberals are elected, and then they do something, and then they piss people off, and more conservatives are elected.
And it could be a gross miscalculation on their part, because it's one thing to hitch your wagon to an unpopular policy; it's another thing to fire a person.
Yeah.
This is personal. I mean, people are protesting. Teachers are upset because they like this guy. And he's a homegrown leader, and it sounds like some parents from the piece are upset too. A parent of a student with special needs liked what he was doing with special education and felt like her kid would be personally impacted. So, all right, well, this has been a theme this year. Raucous behavior at school board meetings, and now superintendents getting fired, and
schools are right in the thick of it, man.
Yeah, they are.
More so than at any other time in my career.
Yeah. And it's funny. I know we did that piece on potential. Merrick Garland talked about potential federal intervention when I know
nothing.
It's been the federal response to issues of education locally has been pretty weak. We had Secretary Cardona's speech that we were maybe going to talk about, but honestly, fellas, I was not interested.
It was a snooze fest. I mean, and that's the problem, right? You come in and you talk about educators pushing back, like, for all of her many faults, like, at least Betsy DeVos made headlines.
Oh, I agree. Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, let's be fair.
She drove the narrative, even if we were talking about dumb stuff.
Isn't there a middle ground? Because I have to say, I mean, the build up to the Biden administration was, we're going to have professionals, right? Yeah. Professionals in national security, professionals all across the government, running the government. But do you have to have a total snoozer administration with professionals? No. I mean, there's some in between Betsy DeVos and, like, I just
a doorknob.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of excitement going on.
Yeah. And I mean, they could stand up and say, I think that schools have a place for discussing difficult, parts of our country's history. I think it's a nuanced conversation, like, whatever you want to say that's way too wordy and not an easy explanation. That's fine. But at least, say something, make some headlines, do some interviews, like, get out there and agree. Drive the conversation.
Dr. Biden hadn't done much either, has she, Casey?
No, not.
That was
No.
going to be her big thing, is she was going to be our ally. And
I think with all the other things that the Biden administration is dealing with Ukraine and Afghanistan and COVID, I think probably the strategy is let's not talk about education because it's going to muddy our. I understand that, but I'm saying like the other side of it is maybe they're not talking about it because it's going to muddy the water of their communication even worse.
Well, what about the money that they have given to school systems? Have they talked at all about how they've saved public education during a pandemic?
How it's prevented millions of people from being laid off, how it's kept schools open, how it's kept the buses running on time.
Yep.
You like your childcare when your kid goes to school every day? Oh, we just gave you $80 billion for that or whatever.
I think
nothing.
I think they've dropped the ball personally.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's only been a year, so maybe they can retrench. All right. Let's keep our eye on Superintendent Wise, see if he gets his job back, goes to a neighboring system, gets another superintendency. That they're on the hook case for what? 2 years, 250 grand plus.
That's right. And Benny's.
I'll take it. He'll be on the
Not
golf
too bad.
course.
Plus outstanding expenses.
Yeah.
That's right.
He better have saved his gas.
Paid at
receipts.
Chick-fil-A. Yeah, that's right. You better pay him back.
All right. Don't go away. When we come back, we've got I have a feeling it's going to be one of the best quizzes ever, Mr. Siddons.
I have a new little mini segment for us.
Plus
too.
an unnamed segment that we're waiting bated breath. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ed's Not Dead. As always, we're brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. Final segment of the show. Crable's got to get to the Winter Olympics. So we have an unnamed segment that we're incredibly excited about. Mr. Siddons is going to frame it for us in a second, and then we've got a Siddons quiz.
That's right.
Before we wrap things up. All right, so tell us about the new seg.
All right, so there's so much news coming at us every day. If you have a good idea for the name of this segment, please send it us our way because my brain is fried and I couldn't come up with a good one. So I'm going to read out some news headlines from recent times about education issues going on, and then Mr. Crable, Dr. Dodd, you're going to tell us, as the prognosticators on the pod, whether they are one of three things. One, is it a non-issue? Don't have to worry about it. Nothing to sweat about. The second one, the bear is watching. Meaning it could be a problem. Stay tuned. It's a little DeVos throwback. And then
good.
Number three, we're screwed. Whatever it is going to be a major problem. You ready?
Yeah,
Ready.
go.
What I'll do is I'll give you the headline. And you
Do we
let me know
jump?
what-
Do we jump in, or you give us each one,
or
or do we? But you want us to
both do
weigh
it.
in on? We both do it.
both weigh on it.
Okay,
Yeah, both
all right.
weigh on it. And I'll read the headline first, and then I'll also read the byline for you.
All right.
All right. The headline from Axios: COVID pushes teachers to pivot careers. Teachers are leaving the education workforce at a rapid clip, with rates of attrition among educators up 66% from pre-pandemic levels. The careers that teachers are migrating toward include software engineer, real estate agent, and salesperson, according to LinkedIn's research. Non-issue, bears watching, or we're screwed.
I'm going to go with bears watching. I don't think we're quite at a we're screwed level, because I kind of feel like we would already be there, that like everybody would have quit already if they were going to quit. And I still think we'll lose people, and I still think we're not going to get some into the field as a result of the last 2 years, but I'm not ready for a we're screwed declaration quite yet.
I'm
right.
I'm going to go out on a limb and probably anger some of my teacher friends. I'm going to say non-issue. Non-issue.
Non-issue. All right.
I'm going to say that we've experienced a pandemic. The herd has been thinned.
Jesus.
Okay, maybe that's not the appropriate choice, but that, the labor market across a lot of industries has been impacted I think we're going to get teachers back, both those that maybe leave the profession temporarily. And, I'm a shameless believer in public ed, that I think we're going to get a whole new flow in the pipeline of people that are interested in the profession.
Whole new crap.
I tend to agree. I think the pendulum's going to swing, and we're going to see districts make the teaching profession a lot more attractive.
I agree. I think you're right. I think we come out of this, and I think maybe they're doing that right now. I mean, certainly we see signs of that they are going to great lengths to attract people.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll continue. All right.
Yeah.
Next one.
All right. Number 2. The headline in Texas, this is New York Times, a battle over what can be taught and what books can be read. A new state law constricts teachers when it comes to race and history, and a politician is questioning why 850 titles are on a library shelf. The result, quote, a lot of our teachers are petrified. Non-issue, Bears watching, we're screwed. What do you think? Dr. Dodd, you're first.
We're screwed. Specifically, Texas is screwed.
Right.
It goes without saying that localities, states that make these kinds of moves, they're just, in my opinion, hurting themselves, hurting their kids, hurting their electorate. What's better than having a completely illiterate and uninformed electorate? That's just that leads to great outcomes for a state. So they're screwed. I'm not screwed. Other school systems are not screwed, but places like Texas are going to be screwed.
Yeah. And show me anybody in history who was pro book banning that ended up on the right side of history.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally has never happened. But yeah, for me, I mean, I'm between non-issue and we're screwed, but it's not a Bears watching, just for the reasons Robbie said. It's so local and hyper local that I think it will never really take root across the country, but certainly there will be more areas that feel emboldened or righteous in their taking out of curricular and or other reading materials. Yeah, and it's tough for them, but even for them, I think the pendulum will come back and all those books will end up back in libraries at some point.
Cool. All right, last one, and I'm going to add a fourth category for you to throw a wrench in the wheel here.
Ooh.
The last category that you can pick from in our status is there's hope.
Oh,
there's hope.
So you can pick non-issue, Bear is watching, we're screwed, or there's hope.
Okay. Doesn't fit that neatly on the continuum,
I know,
but it's okay.
The article itself didn't really fit in the continuum. It could. All right. So the last one for our segment today: New Jersey governor to end school mask mandate in move to normalcy. For the first time since the start of the pandemic, New Jersey district will be permitted to allow students and teachers to stop wearing masks.
Mr. Krabs,
does this mean that local school districts can still make their own decisions, or does this mean that no one is allowed to?
It means the way I read it is that districts, based on their cases and their issues in their districts, can choose to have masks or not.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, every county has different numbers and different different levels of infection. So I think that there has to be some end in sight, and just preparing for the end in sight doesn't really mean anything. It happened in Maryland, right? It happened in Virginia, and there's still districts that choose to mask because they have high rates of infection. So I think preparing for kids not to wear masks is fine and good and right. And it doesn't, as long as it's not in the middle of the Omicron wave,
right.
Which is ridiculous. But so yeah, I don't know. I'd say non-issue or hope. Yeah. Let's get past this.
Dr. D?
Yeah, I'm reading this. I'm reading this differently. I think the Bears watching.
Oh man.
You've had an effect on me, Casey. It's possible there's going to be another variant. So as you've said, Mr. Krabs, preparing to not wear masks, I would want to know that how are you then preparing to wear them again?
Yeah.
Because that could happen. And I don't think we did that in this last one. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that
we threw away our masks.
Correct. In the summer, we were having meetings and it was pretty harsh. So I'd like to see the cycle get thought out a little bit further this time. That what do we do if we experience what number wave is this, Casey? 5? Is this the 5th wave?
I think this is the 4th wave.
4th wave. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is that there is hope, but there's also potentially the likelihood that things get worse again.
It's funny that I'm kind of in the middle with both of you, which is if you listen to the Daily, there's a guy, Donald McNeil, who was on talking about the pandemic early on in the pandemic, and he talked about something called the dance, which is his prediction of the next 2 to maybe 3 years of the pandemic when it first started. And he's like, well, the dance is, we institute mask mandates, we make sure that people are back to normal, whatever. And then then we get slammed and we have to go back in, or we have to put mask mandates back on or whatever. So I think, I think there has to be some realistic comparison going on, being like, we're giving districts the ability to remove the mask mandates, but know that if there are more waves and there are more people getting sick and there are more people that are not well and filling up hospitals, that we're going to have to reinstitute mask mandates across the cities or something.
Right. And I guess I would want that finally spelled out clearly to citizens.
This is how we know.
This is how it might go. And if it goes this way, this is what we're going to do again, or differently. So everybody doesn't freak.
Yeah.
All right. What's the name of the segment, Mr. Sids?
I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. I need some input. I need some show feedback on that.
Send us some show feedback on Mr. Siddon's new segment. He's the segment king. He's Mr.
Bodie McBoatface, we'll call it.
Mr. Creative. I liked it. PC,
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I was into it. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. It doesn't require that much thought, and you picked some good headlines, so they were pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad you liked it.
All right, you're on again. The quiz. Right. How many questions in the quiz this time?
3 for each.
Okay. All right. You
ready? Who wants to go first?
We got any focus here? Topic?
It's current events. You ready?
Oh God.
Oh Jesus.
Current events, not sports. It should be.
I removed the 2 sports.
Why won't you do sports for me?
I removed because the last time I did it, you were like, "Well, you get the easy one."
Okay, sorry.
I'll go first.
All right. Number 1, the Republican National Committee officially voted.
Oh, and it's not politics.
And declared as a party that the January 6th insurrection attack was A, legitimate political discourse, B, a wonderful expression of freedom, or C, a shameful point in our country's history.
That'd be A, legitimate political discourse.
Very good. Number 2, China accused of domestic human rights abuses against the blank chosen athlete from that Muslim ethnic group
to help
light the flame at the opening ceremony of the 2022 Olympic Games. That is correct. The Uyghurs. Well done, Mr. Crable.
Give me that third easy one. Come on.
All right. Number 3, a school district in Tennessee banned Art Spiegelman's graphic novel Blank, which tells his family story of surviving the Holocaust.
All right.
Sales of the book soared as a result.
So annoying.
Good luck, Robbie. You should have called that one.
4-3.
He's a little cocky.
This is good.
It's the first time he's ever gotten 3 out of 3.
It's been a while, to be fair.
All right, number 1 for our Dizzle. In the city of Blank, Mayor Jacob Fry suspended no-knock warrants after police shot and killed Amir Locke, a 22-year-old black man who was not named on any warrant.
That would be Minneapolis.
Minneapolis is correct without even the options. Number 2, Queen Elizabeth II celebrated her Blank Jubilee, marking 70 years as queen, the first British monarch to reach this milestone. Is it A, platinum, B, diamond, or C, golden?
This is hard.
I know this one.
No, you don't.
I do.
Okay, so how many years?
70.
70.
And she's 95 or 7.
Oh dear. I don't
That
know.
doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's extraneous information. 70 years. Diamond.
It's called buying
And is
time.
she left-handed or right?
Diamond, platinum, or golden?
Correct. Platinum is A, B is diamond, C is golden.
Diamond Jubilee. I've heard that. Wasn't it like a song or something?
She's 95. Not that it matters, but I'm buying you more
Okay.
time.
I said 95 or 97.
She doesn't look a day over 94.
I feel great pressure on this one.
Come on, spit it
Do
out.
you want to go to the third one?
I'm
and then
gonna
we'll come back to
go.
the second one.
I'm gonna go with diamond.
Incorrect. It's actually
Oh!
platinum.
God, I almost said platinum.
Platinum.
I think diamond might be 50.
I thought golden was 50.
Maybe.
All right. Number 3. Shaun White, a 3-time gold medalist in blank, announced that the Beijing Olympics will be his final competition. Is he A, freestyle skiing, B, snowboarding, or C, downhill skiing?
He would be a ginger snowboarder.
He's the flying
Are you
tomato.
Googling it, Robbie? Are you Googling
No,
it?
no. I know Shaun White. Crable will tell you I know
okay.
who Shaun White
That is correct.
All
Very
right.
good. That's 2 out of 3. Do you want to see the 2? So Peter Crable, you
Yeah,
get a
he
trophy.
won.
You get a trophy today, buddy.
Crable. There's no way for me to recover that one.
Well, do you want me to give you the 3 I removed? The 3, I'll tell you the 3 I removed. This is
Sure.
for no points. Quarterback blank announced his retirement after 22 seasons in the
Ben
NFL.
Tom Brady. Ugh, got it. Next.
A, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
B, Tom
Like
Brady,
I didn't
or
know that.
C,
He just
Ryan
went.
Oh, there's your
Fitzpatrick.
sports one. Why didn't you? You should have answered it.
Yeah,
You look
should-
shell-shocked
you should
over
have
there,
done that.
Robbie.
Because you leaned
right.
into your mic like you were
All right.
about to eat it.
All right, Robbie, you
did.
get to answer this one.
Okay, shut up. Crable.
Washington's
I'm going to shout
NFL
this out
team
fast.
changed its nickname to blank,
The Red
replacing
Wolves.
their old name, which was considered a racial slur to American Indians. Was it A, the
You
Commodores?
sounded just like Ron Burgundy.
Was it A, the Commodores, B, the Chefs, or C, the Commanders?
It's the Commodores, and Lionel Richie is the lead singer.
And then number 3, the third one I took out was blank, the ex-coach for the Miami Dolphins, is suing the NFL.
Brian
claiming
Flores.
Brian Flores is correct.
Let me tell you
saying
what.
that teams racially discriminate and they're hiring your coaches.
Aside from the seriousness of his suit, and because I want to be very clear, I'm not making light of it. It's incredibly juicy.
I haven't read it.
Just knowing that Bill Belichick at 67 years old can't text the right person.
Texted the wrong person.
Oh, is that
It's
what,
just-
is that
oh,
what
it's
came
just
up about
Texted
it?
the wrong Brian.
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Jesus, dude.
yeah. And that the owner of the Dolphins offered Brian Flores on a
Cash.
yacht $100,000
What?
per game that he tanked on purpose, lost on purpose. Yeah.
I need to read this now. I want to know.
Now, aside from all that, I mean, he takes just brutal aim at systemic racism in the NFL.
Good.
And he is not, I mean, he's basically doing what Colin Kaepernick did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And
taking a stand for everyone else.
I think he might have a better chance though of not being persona non grata because I think I think he's got some dirt that could be a real problem for some of these teams. If the Giants didn't fulfill the Rooney Rule legitimately, they are in trouble, Mr. Crable.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, the you want to explain the Rooney Rule?
We're still recording, by the way. I apologize.
Yeah.
For
That's all right. It's good.
Just you got to interview minority candidates for every, I don't know if it's head coaching or administrative or upper level job, but so basically the job was already allegedly promised to a different Brian, and Bill Belichick texted Brian Flores, was like, "Hey, I'm hearing like the Giants are your team. You got locked up. You're good to go." And Brian Flores was like, "Thanks, coach, but my interview's not till Thursday."
And the reason he had them both in his phone, both Brian's, because they were both on Belichick's staff
Oh God.
with the Patriots. So
Oh God.
here's Flores not even having interviewed yet, and Belichick, who clearly, again, shows the power structure of the NFL, is tapped into the Giants ownership, right? I mean, he's talking to John Mara, Steve Tisch, or others, and they've informed him that Brian Daboll has it.
They already have their guy.
Oh,
Everybody else is just walking through a process.
Correct.
Pointless process.
Anyway.
Saying the quiet part out loud.
Yep.
All right.
Jeez.
As always, Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. Check us out on Twitter at Ed's Not Dead PC. And, of course, our website. You can get all the awesome back episodes, edsnotdead.com. All right, fellas. So, Crable, you've got the Bungles. So do you, Siddons. I got the Rams. Crable is going skiing in 2 days.
Yes, I am. Yes,
Wow.
I am.
Yeah, it's
Very exciting.
Are you going for 5 days, 3 days?
No, just 3. Yeah.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
So Wednesday to Friday.
Yep. You got it.
Nice.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Mr. Siddons, you going to West Virginia anytime soon?
Couple weeks. Yep. Making a trip up to Scranton at some point.
All right.
Bring Freed up.
Very nice. All right. I'm probably not leaving Silver Spring anytime soon because we all know I never do. I need to get out. I need to get the kids. I need to take the kids away.
Yeah. You should go to some island somewhere.
That was what I was thinking about doing.
Is your trip still valid?
Yeah, I still got you mean the March 2020 trip that
yes,
perfectly timed.
The COVID casualty that never happened.
I was so excited when you told us about it.
I know, because it was such a big step.
But it's still valid, right?
Yeah, it's still valid. We still have the credits.
Nice.
All that stuff. So, all right. Well, as always, thanks for listening. Please spread the word about Ed's Not Dead. Leave us some show feedback. How should folks leave a show feedback
on Twitter or Facebook, whatever you prefer? Just make a comment.
Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
All right. I was explicitly told, I'll share it now with the listeners, that I was not to bring up show feedback at the beginning of the show.
Correct.
But now we want show feedback.
Yes, always.
All right. Okay.
Rate us on iTunes. It gets some more listeners.
And we will have a guest yet unnamed on the next episode. I'm putting him on the spot, Mr. Graves.
Yikes.
I like it.
All right.
Ooh.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We hope you enjoyed the show. For Casey and Peter, spread the word about Ed's Not Dead, and we'll talk to you soon. See you, fellas.